Are skills becoming the new currency of workforce transformation? Across the globe, organizations are redesigning their internal structures to respond to big disruption and changes in the market. For this redesign to be successful, they need to quickly understand what skills they have internally and what skills they might need to rapidly acquire. This is leading to skills becoming the new base of measurement, or the currency to workforce transformation, and therefore underpinning all HR and people practices. Welcome to Talking HR Trends with Natal and Tom. I'm Natal Dank.
And I'm Tom Haak.
And we explore the latest hot topics and business challenges impacting the people side of organizations. Stick around to the end for our practical top tip. And if you find this discussion valuable, please subscribe. Tom, what is your key message in this episode?
My key message is embrace complexity.
My key message is get comfortable with the fluidity of organizational design. Okay, Tom, in the previous episode, we started to look at this organizational shift away from the hierarchy of job functions, job grades, and job levels towards a more fluid role-based network. So this is kind of a key trend that we've talked a lot about. What's interesting is underpinning this fluid network of roles is, of course, skills. And since we did that episode, this topic of skills and the focus on skills in HR has really accelerated as a topic and really increased. So everyone's talking about it. Everyone's kind of building a skills inventory. And it seems that it's becoming the basis of talent strategies to the point that people are seeing it as the new currency of the workplace. Can you tell me a bit more about why this trend is so important and why it is the big focus now across HR?
Yeah, and those are two different things. I think, why is it important? And again, is it really taken seriously? Or are people saying, okay, well, I've seen it and now we have to do something? Are organizations really taking it seriously? I still have doubts there. Where we see at this moment, for example, still a lot of discussions about we cannot find the people. There's a war for talent. Well, one of the reasons why looking at skills is very important, because it helps us enormously with finding people and deploying people. If we don't look at, let's say, a bucket of skills in a job, but if we look at separate skills. So if there's scarcity, and if we would really use the skills as the basic currency, as you're saying, then we would be a lot more creative in looking for people with certain skill sets. And I honestly don't see that a lot. I still see organizations saying, oh, we cannot find the people. At the same time, people, for example, who are older or people who have specific skill sets have difficulty in finding a job. Because organizations, but you need A, B, C, D, E together. But why is it important? It helps in finding the right people and being more creative in sourcing and finding people for our organization and the teams. That's one. Also in redeployment of people. Because if we look at our people in the organization, and some of the jobs might be abundant, but if we look at the people on skill level, we might find skills or adjacent skills that can be very useful and that we actually can deploy in our organization. So sourcing, redeployment of people, and using the potential of people a lot better. Because if we are able to look at how people, what skill levels people have, then we are a lot better able to utilize the different skills people have, even if those skills not necessarily, always come together. So those are only three reasons. That I'm sure there are more. It's also about, of course, it's using potential and career development. It's about productivity, making sure that we become more productive, and that the stalling productivity, that we find a way to tackle that.
Yes, I've heard people mention the word precision. So if you start looking at workforce strategy and kind of workforce planning, when you're doing it on the skills level, it gives you more precision of this kind of creating the teams. As you said, your sourcing and the actual kind of gets more creative in how you put teams together.
If you know what you're looking for. So it's not necessarily easy because it requires thorough analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know which skills are needed to execute this role in a good way? Do we know that? And often, well, that's not so clear. And then we easily talk about skills, but even I get confused quickly. And what are exactly our skills and how granular do we need to define the skills? And if it's very granular, is it then really helpful? If it is a big bucket, then it might not be so easy to measure what exactly it is.
Some people mention talking about skill clusters and also thinking more about what are the roles and capabilities that you need in the business to deliver against certain strategy. And then if you go, okay, well, we need these capabilities, then what are the skill clusters or group of skills that link into that?
I looked at one of those lists of future-proof skills. Well, you know those lists. And then you have analytical thinking, active learning, resilience, critical thinking, creativity, problem solving. We realize what those terms mean, but to measure them and to know, it's not so easy.
Part of this trend and this focus is the mapping of the skills. And you've already mentioned that. And so a lot of people are building skills inventory or a taxonomy of skills. So much so that we're seeing some of the big HR tech players like Oracle, Workday, LinkedIn come into this field and are actually releasing new products to take advantage of this market space. I also know of some pretty big projects happening in some big brands like Unilever and Bosch, where they're actually creating their own internal systems that are based on AI and machine learning and data analytics. So what's going on here? Is it the latest fad, so that are people rushing to take advantage of it? Or is this very much the kind of the future of how we do strategy in talent and how do we mobilize talent? What's your thoughts around that?
I think it's not a fad. And I think it's very promising that the companies with the capabilities and the technology are embracing it, like the LinkedIn and the Microsofts and the others. So I think it's not a fad. It's very promising that companies are embracing it. I think it's early days. And let's not simplify it too much. So it's not simple, it's complex, but technology can help us a lot. So AI and building good taxonomies with the help of the machines, and then connecting it to performance and saying, okay, which skills are really needed and which skills deliver excellent performance. So I think it's early days, but I think it's very promising, and we should keep a very close look and try to deal with it in new ways. So not necessarily in the classical way. So a skill inventory already sounds a little bit classical. So let's make an inventory of all the skills we have.
It doesn't really match up with the fluid network of roles and capabilities.
Let's first define the skills. Let's then make an inventory. I know people don't want that.
So that leads on to my third question, Tom, which is around the need for speed. So what I'm seeing is that, yes, we've always wanted to know skills, and that's been a big part of talent strategy and mobilizing talent. But the speed at which we now need to do this has definitely increased. For example, we now need to quickly design new teams and bring a group of skills together to, say, innovate and deliver a new product. Or we need to quickly understand what are the skill gaps, because technology and change in the workplace is increasing at a rapid rate. And this means we need to know how to reskill or kind of cover skill gaps again at a faster pace. So what's your thoughts? How do we kind of upskill ourselves in HR to be able to talk about this new currency and understand how to help the organization restructure at speed? Is this sort of a new skill in itself, in terms of how to use this currency and talk to it and guide business leaders in how to formulate great teams?
So speed is always an issue, but is today, also was in the past. It's not that the workforce planning projects of the past and the talent management efforts of the past, they were good and they were excellent, but now that is not the case. They were not very excellent in the past as well. So speed is always an issue. I would say here it's important not to see it as something separate. So now we have to do something with skill. So let's start a skill project. We are sometimes repeating ourselves, but it's connecting to the urgent issues at hand. We are missing certain capabilities that hinder us in executing our strategy. Okay, that's a good starting point. What are the skills that we need for those capabilities? And where can we find those skills? So connect it immediately to your burning issues or your strategy, however you want to call it, and then focus on those instead of saying we in HR have to start a skill project and we have to select software and we have to select it. That's not going to work. In another episode, we talked about design thinking. This is also something you can apply in this area. What are we trying to solve? What is the real issue? The issue might be we have too many people in our organization. What can we do? And how can we redeploy those people? That's a good starting point. Redeployment. So, okay, let's try to connect that to where we need people.
I do think you're connecting it to what's the most important problem to solve. And I think that's a nice way of getting practical with this topic, isn't it? So take an example. If you do need to form a new team to design and deliver a new product, then use that as the working example of how do you understand what skills you have in your organization, but also what do people know are their skills and what are their potential and what's their motivation to be part of this new team. And if you use it as a working example, I think you can build up a technique of how do you actually source skills to be able to redesign business teams and help the business kind of respond to market needs. If you're just doing it as you said, as a skills project, it's way too big and it's a bit too vague, isn't it? So you need kind of to focus, yeah.
It can also become too Tayloristic. Let's not forget the team dimension. And it's not that, you do skill A and you do skill B and you do C and you do D and then we put it together and we have a great team.
It's supposed to be T-shaped, isn't it? As we've been talking about. Exactly, yeah.
It's more complicated than just finding the skills, putting the people together and say good luck.
I know. So again, we've got to be more holistic about this way that we're approaching it. Excellent. Great conversation. Thank you so much, Tom. Always really insightful. For the practical top tip, we really want you to let go of this very fixed mindset and really this Tayloristic mindset of job roles and job descriptions and job responsibilities and fixed tasks. Actually, what we've got to start to look at is how do you actually get comfortable with a more fluid approach to organizational design and development. A really good way to start in this is exactly what Tom talked about. So what is a key business issue or a problem to solve? Go and actually talk to business leaders and teams and understand what are the strategies across your business. And then think about, well, what are the roles and capabilities that you need to achieve these business outcomes? By understanding the roles and capabilities, you can start to map what skills are required. And then you can think about, well, what skills do we have in the organization and what might we have in terms of gaps? Of course, you concentrate your recruitment and your L&D efforts where those gaps are coming out. But think more capabilities, think more strategy, and think more problems to solve in the first place. Thank you. This is Talking HR Trends with Natal and Tom. If you found this discussion valuable, please subscribe. Have a great day.